In this video, I'm going to give you 7 serviced accommodation secrets and strategies to take your business to the next level. Now, these are not beginner strategies. If you want them, I have plenty of videos like that on the channel. Now, I've always been obsessed with trying to find new ways, new things to do in this business that benefits us as hosts as opposed to the OTAs. Call them hacks, secrets, or strategies, but there's things we can do to get more time, more money, and more freedom that aren't always obvious.
Well then, it's hacking time.
So this video is for those of you who focus on marginal gains because you know how those continual 1% improvements compound into massive results. And that leads me on to secret number 1. What if I told you there was a way to reduce your Booking.com commission by 1%? Now, what most people do when they set up on Booking.com is set up payments by Booking.com because they're used to Airbnb, where Airbnb collect the money and then pay you out, and they want the same thing with Booking.com. But in reality, that's a trap. You're giving away control of your guest, of your booking revenue to the OTA. Booking.com keep that money, even if it's a non-refundable rate, until the stay has happened, and then they pay you out like way after, so it's even worse than Airbnb. They let all that client money, and there must be hundreds of millions of pounds every month sitting in their bank account accruing interest, when it could be sitting in your account accruing interest. And on top of that, they charge a fee, which is actually quite high. You can get much cheaper rates for processing your own payments. So the first thing you want to do is turn off payments by Booking.com and change it so that you collect the payment from the guest directly. Once you've done that, if you're charging non-refundable or prepayment policy bookings, you just charge those cards straight away and the money comes into your account so you can start earning interest on that. Secondly, Booking.com are then going to invoice you for their commission a month in arrears. So here's where we save the 1%. Booking.com are going to push you to sign up to a direct debit, so they'll be able to automatically charge the commission after the month has happened. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can turn that off and you can choose an option to pay their commission via card. Now, when you pay that commission via a card like Capital on Tap or American Express, you can get cash back on the spend that you're doing. It's 1% with Capital on Tap, which is by far my favorite. American Express, you can get points which you can use for travel and stuff like that. But the key is, by paying for those commissions on that Capital on Tap card, you get 1% cash back. So all of a sudden your Booking.com commission goes from 15% down to 14%. I've been doing this for the last year or so maybe, and the savings really do add up. You can change it back into money off the bill. You can change it into gift cards where you can get money out of the business sort of tax free. You can gift the gift cards to your team. It's just a really neat way to save that 1% and get that money back in your account instead of Booking.com's. Now, the next secret is how to encourage family stays in your property, but at the same time discouraging potential parties. But first, if you're new here and you're wondering who the hell this guy is and why should you listen to him, well, hi, I'm Dave, and I've been involved in Airbnb or serviced accommodation for over 15 years here in Belfast. I run a multi-award winning property management company that's welcomed over 100,000 guests. We currently have a portfolio of 75 properties doing about £4 million in bookings per year. And if you're in the UK and you're thinking, how have I not seen this guy before? It's because I tend to use Airbnb in my titles. I use serviced accommodation in this one. It's a very long phrase. It's hard to fit in there. Airbnb is shorter and more widely known. I know it's what the noobs call it, but it is what it is. So if you're from the UK and I'm popping up in your feed for the first time you're watching this, leave me a comment and tell me where you're from. Okay, back to it. Now, how do we encourage families and also discourage potential partiers? Well, I think what most people do is when they set their rates for their property, they just skim over all the little bits and pieces in the policy section, especially the one that says, do you offer child rates? Because you're thinking, well, the child's still using the bed, still going to use the same amount of stuff. Like, why would I give a discount for a child? They're probably actually messier than some adults. At least mine are. But if you skip over this and don't offer a discount, you're missing out on an amazing little hack or strategy that I overlooked for a long time as well. Now, when we have a 1 or 2 night gap in our calendar, particularly at the weekend, we want to sell it, but we're worried about the potential for parties. If you follow my content, you'll know that you should be optimizing for longer stays, but it's damn hard to ignore a Friday and Saturday night if they're sitting empty. Now, what a lot of people will do is if they see that Friday and Saturday night available, they'll think,
how do I stop getting bad guests in?
I know, I'll put the price so high that these bad guests won't be able to afford it.
Pure genius.
But in reality, all that does is price your nice family that's going to come and look after your place very well. It prices them right out of the market. They're paying for that stay out of one household, out of one bank account, and if you hike that price super high, they're just going to look at it and go, that place is not for us. Now, it will deter groups that are going to come and have a party to some degree because it will just be more expensive. But if you have a group of 20 guys who are coming to your area and want a party in your place, well, no matter what you've put that price to, once you divide that by 20, it's not the most expensive still. But by implementing child rates where you actually do discount, either heavily discount or for free, even though you've put your price up for 6 adults, which your place might sleep, if a family comes with 2 adults and 3 kids, they're not going to see that super high price. They're going to see a much more affordable, much more attractive price, therefore encouraging them to book. While at the same time, if 6 adults are coming, they're paying the top rate. Now, if you implement this, I guarantee you will see a massive uptick in families coming to stay in your place. Now, just make sure your rates for those families after you've offered that discount is still making you money. And also make sure that if people still book the super high price for 6 adults or whatever, that you vet them properly. So the next strategy I want to talk about is you, the host, solely focusing on doing the high ROI activities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people who are getting into serviced accommodation or Airbnb from a traditional property investing background, all they see is the rent that comes in per month and everything else is a cost. So no matter what they do, the rent is not going to go up. They have to just get the cheapest stuff that they can, put in the property, save costs wherever you can, get secondhand stuff because the income doesn't change, but the costs do. They go up and down. So the return on investment, it doesn't return much to put a very nice sofa in a rental. It doesn't return much to get very nice photos done. But in serviced accommodation or in Airbnb, these things do matter. What you put in has a massive impact on what that property is going to give you out. So let me give you an example. When you're trying to find a property, either you're trying to buy it or you're trying to rent it or you're trying to manage it, the better the property, the more desirable the property, probably the more expensive the property, the better. Getting a better property in a better location, finished better, with more bedrooms that you can get more people in, yes, that's going to be more expensive, but that investment could return you 20 grand extra a year, 30 grand extra a year. The return on that investment is massive. And likewise, it works the other way. If you get a small, shitty, poorly located property, the return on that investment is going to be absolutely minuscule. It's not going to be worth it. Let me give you another example. A lot of people, when they get started, they're putting their property online, they take the photos on their phone, or they get their mate's fancy camera and they take their photos on that. And they do that because they see those photos as a cost to get a professional in. But it's not a cost. It's a massive investment that is going to return hugely. Properties that have professional photos get an increase of about 20% in booking revenue. They may only cost you a couple of £100 to get them done, but they're going to generate you thousands and thousands of pounds in bookings over their lifetime. When you figure out how many people are actually going to view those photos and then work out what the cost per view is, it's like insanely cheap compared to any other form of online marketing. And that's what those photos are. They're your shop window in the online marketplace of Airbnb, Booking.com and whatever else. I'll give you another example.
Another one.
People look at rate pricing software like Price Labs. They get a quote, they do a demo and they think, oh, that's a bit expensive. But again, this investment is going to generate an enormous return. For a few quid a month per property, you could increase your revenue from that property by like 30%. It's insane what this algorithm will put your rates up to because it knows you're going to get them. It knows far better than you're going to figure out yourself. And add to that, it runs itself automatically in the background. You aren't having to spend your time on it. Now, I've just given you some high ROI activities. Let me tell you some low ROI activities that I feel anyway. Number one is SEO. It's trying to get your direct booking website number one on Google. You can spend hours writing blogs, making videos, trying to do all this different bits and pieces to get people onto it. And for what? A couple of bookings here and there each week or each month? Now, you might think the return on that investment is every direct booking that falls into your lap. And actually it's not. All you're making is the 15% margin that you could have been paying Booking.com or Airbnb. So if you get £1,000 booking, you've saved £150. But how much has it cost you to get that booking? All that SEO specialist work, the social media training, the social media platforms, your time. And we're going to come to that later on as well about your hourly rate and why it's so important. So for me, it's controversial, but I believe the higher ROI activities, the ones that are really going to move the needle in terms of your revenue, are the ones I talked about earlier. And in terms of a direct booking strategy of SEO and social media and all this sort of stuff, that time could be much better spent trying to retarget guests that have already stayed or convert the ones that are on the OTA platforms already. It's controversial. Come at me in the comments if you think I'm a load of talking shit.
Come at me, bro.
The next secret I want to share with you is not only a way to turbocharge the amount of reviews you get, how good they are, and also how many across different platforms you get. Now, what a lot of people do is once guests have left, they send an email to say, hope you enjoyed your stay. Please leave us a review. Goodbye. And guests read that and often just think, I can't be arsed. Maybe I'll do it later. They just forget and it's done. But by incentivizing guests to leave that review, that's how you get them to take action. And this can be as simple as, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review. If you do, we'll offer you a 10% discount on any future stay. Now, even if that guest has no intention of coming back anytime soon, they're going to want to lock that in. So they're thinking, oh, I'll just do it now. It'll only take me a second. Or you can go to the next level. And this is how we ended up getting the number one on TripAdvisor, is leave a little thing in the property that says, scan this QR code. It's going to take you to TripAdvisor. If you leave us us a 5-star review and send us a screenshot, you're going to be entered into a competition for a chance to win a £100 Amazon gift card. It's completely seamless because you have a QR code that people can just scan. They can do it when they're sitting there having their dinner at night or when they're having their coffee in the morning. They can give you a 5-star review before they've even left the property. You can tie that in to ask them to do it on Airbnb and Booking.com as well. And you can do the giveaway, the draw, after like 100 reviews. So that's like £1 per review. Now that is good business. Now if you implement that, reviews are going to come flooding in. Number 5, and there are always ways to get more free money from this business. So I talked previously about how you can get free money back using the Capital on Tap card, but even from your guests that are in-house or about to arrive, there's more money there. Now you could very easily set your checkout time at 10 a.m. Now no one's going to want to check out at 10 a.m. Everyone's going to want 12. Well, if they want 12, it's an extra 20 quid. You can sign up to Viator, or you can build relationships with the local tour guides and attractions in your area, and you can get paid commission for when you send your guests to them. I mean, I think most people give the recommendations anyway. When guests are coming to stay, they say, is there anywhere good to go? There's loads of tours for this thing. Which one would you recommend? And if you're a good host, you're going to be sending people there anyway. You may as well get a few quid back from the person who's running the tour. And it's easy to set up. Once you go to a tour operator or an attraction and you say, look, I've got 1,000 guests coming here every year and they all want me to tell them where to go. I can tell them to go to your place. How much is that worth to you? And you can even do it with restaurants as well. There's so many ways where you can leverage or monetize the amount of people that you've got through the door and the power you have to direct those people to any certain business. Now, these next 2 secrets are about optimizing this business for your freedom, for your time.
More freedom, less freedom, or to stay the same.
Now, you're not a noob here. You've been going for a while. You know how many plates there are to spin, how much craziness happens in this business on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing I want to talk about is the power of video. We all know what it's like. We've sent the detailed check-in instructions. It looks like a flippant essay. Guests haven't read it. They've arrived at the property and they're like, where do I check in? Where's the key safe? Or you've written a really detailed guest book about how to work your fancy coffee machine, how to turn on your fancy sound system. But guests have arrived, they've looked at it and they've thought,
I'm not reading War and Peace here, I'm just going to ask the host.
There are so many common things that us as hosts have tried to optimize for by laying everything out in full detail, in photos, in pictures, and all this sort of stuff. And it just goes over the guest's head. They're overwhelmed by it. They don't want to read it. And they just phone us or message us and it's urgent and it needs done there and then. But the power of video helps with all of this. The check-in procedure, you literally send the link to your YouTube video to say, when you're arriving, watch this. They open the video, they see your property, which they're standing right in front of now. They see where the key safe is, they see how to open it, they see how to unlock the door, they see everything that you need to show them. You can point to things and like add text on there. You can talk through it as well. It's just a much better way to get a message across, to show someone how to do something than writing a massive email. And the same for inside. So in your guest book, you can say washing machine, QR code. They scan the QR code, it opens the video of you using the washing machine, showing them how to do everything. Same with the coffee machine, the same with the sound system, the same with a hot tub. All of this stuff can be so much easier explained as if you're there in person, which is what a video does. You're showing them how to do it, you're not just telling them. The next up, we touched on it earlier, but it's so important that you realize that your time is worth money.
Time is money, my friend.
Most people who are running this business, they just do whatever the business demands of them. They answer the phone whenever they need to, they clean whenever they need to, maintenance issues straight down. The business takes over their life and they're ending up working 40 or 60 hours a week on it. And they see the fact that they haven't paid cleaners or they haven't paid maintenance people as a saving. And that's because they aren't valuing their own time. So I would challenge you to figure out what you've earned in your business in the last month, figure out how many hours you've worked in it, and then calculate what your hourly rate is. Because if you're doing everything and you're working all the hours and doing all the jobs, your hourly rate is going to be pittance, minuscule. Now maybe you're doing Airbnb or service accommodation as a side hustle and you're in a job and you actually know your hourly rate. Well, this calculation could make you realize that you'd actually be better doing overtime and work than running your side hustle. That's a harsh reality. I learned it from the book Life Leverage, which changed my life. It's an amazing book. And in it, Rob Moore talks about working out your hourly rate and then deciding or realizing that anything that you can get someone to do for cheaper than that, you have to leverage out. So you might decide that you want an hourly rate of £50 per hour. Well, you could get a cleaner for your property for a lot less than £50 an hour. So why the hell are you doing it? The same goes with your guest communication. How many hours a week are you spending on that? And how much could you find someone on People Per Hour or Upwork in the Philippines or anywhere else to do that that guest communication for you. This is how we get an actual business that's going to run itself, not a full-time job. If you want that, just go work in a hotel. We need a business that serves us so that we can do the things that we want to do instead of being forced to do things that we have to do. And once you start leveraging out those tasks, you will be amazed at how much your capacity to grow increases. You can go from being swamped with one property to having hardly any work to do, but you're running 10. Now, if you're still here, you're obviously on a mission to optimize this business to give you more money, more time, and most importantly, more freedom. So you need to stick around and watch this video next where I give you 16 more ways to do that. See you next time.